Hey guys, my name's Danny, and I'm a RC aerobatic modelling enthusiast based in Sydney, Australia. So, what I'd like to do for you guys today is to go through how you go about programming the AM116 or AM66 speed control using the T-motor AM link. So, the focus of this video will primarily on T-motor using the AM link, but more importantly, programming it using a Windows PC. So without further ado, let's get started. So to get started, the best thing to do is that you want to go to the T-motor Hobby website. Just Google T-motor Hobby. And what's going to happen is that you will be guided to actually, what I might do is just show you what it's to show you what this is actually going to look like. So when you go to T-motor, you're going to T-motor Hobby. You're going to do this. So what you want to do is you want to go to fixed wing motor, and you want to go to ESC. So click on ESC, and what you want to do is click on the T-motor AM116A image. So just click on that. So that will bring up the trusty T-motor AM116A link. So what you want to do here is there's a little thing called support and downloads. So just click on that, and that will take you there. Now, a couple of things that you have to download. This is a WinRAR file that contains all the tuning software, but more importantly, all that contains all the drivers, and without those drivers, guys, absolutely sunk, particularly if you're on Windows 11. You also want to be downloading the PDF. So I've already downloaded that, but all you've got to do to download it is just simply click on that link, and depending on your internet browser, whether it be Opera, Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever, will automatically start that download for you. So once that is downloaded, put that into a folder of your choice. Now, what I've done here is I put it in my documents under Electrified T-motor. So you are going to wind. So what's going to happen here is you're going to wind up with this little zip file right here. And what you want to do is unextract that. And I just simply went to, I just right mouse clicked it, I went to WinRAR and extract to that folder there. So what you want to do is that when that's downloaded, you want to click on here, and that will tell you this is the AM series EST tuning parameter description. So you click on that. Now, before you do anything in terms of setting this up, it is absolutely critical that you have to install COM driver first. Without that, particularly when you're on Windows 11, this show is going to screech to an absolute screaming halt. So if you just click on that, and you're going to see two install options. Now, for those of you, now I'm going to go out on a limb here that particularly now that Microsoft have phased out support for Windows 10, I'm going to say the bulk of the people using this are going to be using Windows 11. If you're using Windows 11, you're going to be on a 64-bit platform. So what you do is that you want to click on this to install the COM driver. Do not passcode, do not collect your $200. You have to do that first. It's absolutely critical. Now, for those of you who are still running 32-bit systems, which is probably about 1 to 3% of this audience, you want to be clicking on this. So you can that installs the COM driver. It's still install shield, and you just click on OK, and off it goes. And when it's done, you'll see this x64 thing, and it basically installs it installs the driver, and it installs a DL file that is needed to run this. So when you're done with that, go back to your root folder. You see this folder here called the parameterization software. When you click on that, you're going to be presented two options, BL32A and BL32B. Now, I used to think that for Windows 11 and above that you had to use BL32B. However, there's a trap for young players here with T-motor. And the trap for young players is it depends on the firmware in the ESC. for those ESCs that were sold about a year or so ago, you're going to be using the BL32A software. But for those of you with ESCs that you've purchased probably in the last 6 months or so, you want to be using BL32B. So when you see that, you're going to see the executable here, BL32B.exe. I'm going to do that because we're going to go out to my Extreme Flight Slick 67-inch EXP in just a minute, and I'm going to show you basically what you've got to do with the plumbing, the AM links to get it to talk to the PC. But if you want to click on this, the first thing that you've got to do is when you've installed this, this is just this is how it looks. Now, the key thing to select here, you're not going to see anything right now because you haven't got it connected up. But when you connect the ESC, you're going to see a couple of different port options come up, and that's going to be really important. So, without further ado, go out to the plane, and I'll show you how to get all this hooked up. Okie dokie. All right, hang on. Let me just turn on some lights here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is so what I'm going to do is I'm going to point it towards the plane. Now, hopefully you can see it. Now, there's a couple of traps for young players here. Let me just focus. Sorry, that. So let's just focus right here. Now, it's critical that when you're programming, one of the big mistakes I used to make was I used to think that you used to have to program a telemetry port. What you want to do at the bottom of the T-motor link, where you've got the USB-C port on top, you want it programmed right down here. Let me just kind of zoom in on that for you so that you can see that really clearly. So once you've got that, you'll then plug in your USB. You'll plug in your USB COM port. So what we now do is I'm going to turn on my transmitter, my trusty Futaba T18SZ, and I'm just going to connect this up. So stand by. So you'll see it do its thing where it sings at you to say that it's all connected up. You can see that my green transmitter is up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this USB-C cord and I'm going to plug it into my USB-C port. Now that I've done that, let's now, so you can see straight away that I've got a couple of options here. So it's already picked up the COM port. So that will be the first. Now, when you first do this and you don't see that come up straight away, don't panic. Make sure it's plugged in, and you'll see that come up. So what we're now going to do, you see a little thing here called Read Setup. So you click on the Read Setup, and now it'll come up saying read successfully. So this will now come through and will tell you all the various bits and pieces that you've got in your ESC. So what I'm going to do here is let me give you a programming example. So what I'm going to do, currently I've got the motor timing set to 20 degrees. I'm going to take that motor timing and I'm going to set it back to, say, 20 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I am going to write setup, and you'll see those numbers flashing, and it said ESC write OK. The other thing that you can do is, let me just reset that change, and I'll click on write setup. You'll see all that flashing and ESC write OK. Now, what's really cool is you can go to ESC setup and you can save setup to an INI file. And that's actually really, really cool. I was at a 3D fly-in weekend where I was using this quite heavily. We were trying to figure out what was going on with a friend's ESC, and I'm just going to say this, as AM116 DN setup 1, and click on save. And that's actually a really cool thing. And it'll prompt you. It'll prompt you for that. Now, a couple of traps for young players, particularly for those of you running the later firmware versions. Okay, you're going to see right now I've got T-motor AM116AG selected, or that's what it's come up with, the firmware. If you've got that, you'll see in the firmware that to get the ESC to 8.4 volts, that you would want to go that and that and that. Now, if you do that on this version of firmware, it'll actually set the ESC voltage to about, I think it's 5.8 volts. So what you want to do is that you want to select that. So just be really, really mindful of that. So once you're all, so anyway, you go through, you make your changes, and then once you're done, you'll click on you'll click on disconnect, and you'll hear the motor sing away, and then you're ready to go. So that, folks, is in a flash about how you go about programming a programming a ESC. Using, of course, the T-Motor software. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I'll put a link to the download section for this in the description below. But yeah, go and have some fun. Take care, guys. Bye.